File number 09252NA.
All right, we are back on record for a review in this case. Looks like this is our second regular review. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Lee Jamison Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Young.
Caitlin Young, Department of Health and Human Services.
Michael Brooks, I represent the father, Jovi Rupel.
Michael McFarland, representing mother, Mary Wachowski. Please introduce yourself.
Mary Wachowski.
Thank you. I should also say this is a permanency planning hearing scheduled today as well. I look forward to your comments, Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I visited with these children by Zoom. They are placed in a placement that has some experience in our field so that it's very helpful teamwork. We had all the kids' needs are being met in their current placement. It's a little bit of a roller coaster, but we're on a good phase right now, I think. The boys are very respectful and polite and part of the family that they are placed with. The form that takes going forward is what we're working on. In a family team meeting recently, you'll be surprised to know I agitated folks, but what I took from it is that mom and dad believe they've tried everything they know how to do, and that the boys won't go to school and they won't stop using marijuana and that kind of stuff. And I think it's to the extent that they don't believe there's anything they can do to change it. What that says to my ear is, let's help these boys be independent and grow up. A 16-year-old to 15-year-old young men, handsome, intelligent, skilled, socially popular, polite at the home. Let's help them with their independence, so that if we could add a goal of APLA to the goal of reunification. You know, I noticed that the court report asked for continued services for the parents. I don't know that they're interested. I wonder if they're interested in continuing services after reading the court report or not. The kids were very business minded, and when they would get some money, they turned one item into another item, and they had a whole little bartering little activities going on that are now shut down. The placement had a really specific talk with the kids, and the placement was really at risk. So we had to communicate with the parents that anything given to the boys is being turned into other value and used in other ways. Of course, the parents didn't give them marijuana, but by giving them something different, the boys had turned it into that. So visits were supervised after the parents let us know that they've really tried everything, and we tried to ask, what have you tried? How did it work for the boys? And the meeting just didn't end well. So I'd ask you to consider that the placement is meeting all the kids' needs, and that if we were to add the additional goal of APLA, not that we have to commit to it because we really haven't done many meetings about it, but knowing what the other kids go through who are in APLA, they get a lot of independent living skills, and we're able to support them into adulthood. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Honor. I will call Ms. Wachowski first.
Request to hear you. Ms. Thomas, whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Ms. Wachowski, I just want to go over the court report with you, okay? Did you have an opportunity to review that court report that Ms. Young drafted?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Your Honor, I couldn't understand a word of what she said.
Which one? Okay. Could you speak up a little, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that better?
Wonderful. Thank you. In the court report, was there anything that you disagreed with or you would like to clarify as relates to your portion?
There's just stuff in there that there's stuff that, like, at first they were trying to say, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were trying to say that I at first gave them the vapes in the car and stuff like that. And then the thing is there is no reason. The thing is, there's just no reason why I should have gotten my visits taken away or altered. I always took the kids back. Mrs. Beckman can say that I always brought them back when I was supposed to bring them back. I always kept her posted. So as far as the visits, yes, I can't understand why they had anything altered my visits, or they completely took them away, or whatever it is that they have done. I haven't seen the kids in 3 weeks. I'm trying to think of what else the report said. I really don't like how I'm looking on the report, as far as I feel like I'm looking just like really unfit, and I don't like that, because that I have done everything that the court has asked me to do except get a place. I'm working on trying to find a place I can afford, but I've done the psych evaluation. I finished my parenting classes. I've done everything except get a place that they have asked me to do.
Ms. Wilkowski, do you get copies of the orders after we go to court?
At first I didn't have a copy until today, until Mrs. Young gave me a copy. She had emailed me the court report. So I have a copy now, yes.
Okay, but what about court orders?
Just email.
Okay. Did you receive a court order from the last review hearing in July?
A court order stating something to do with the visits, I think it was. But I mean, it was just on the email.
Okay. Do you recall the order indicating that your visits were to be supervised until further order of the court?
Yes, ma'am. And
okay,
they were supposed to be supervised, which I haven't had. I haven't seen them in 3 weeks. I haven't seen them at all since that order.
Well, that order was issued in July. So in the report, it indicates that when Miss Young let you know that she was not following the order and you were getting unsupervised parenting time, that you declined to have any parenting time if it had to be supervised. Is that accurate?
I declined to have supervised visits because I had 5 months of unsupervised visits, and I didn't do anything to get my unsupervised visits taken away. So
did you understand that the court order was not being followed when you were having unsupervised parenting time?
I understand what you're saying, but when they took the kids and we had the court date, ma'am, the next day, and I sat right here in this courtroom and heard the judge say unsupervised visits is fine. The day after they took the kids, we had to come to court, and I heard her say, I remember the lawyer asking her, is unsupervised fine? And they said yes. I remember it being talked about in court.
Okay.
And they said yes.
Okay. And is it still your position that if parenting time is supervised, you do not want to exercise parenting time?
No, I do not, because I don't understand it, I guess, ma'am. I don't understand why I would go from 5 months of following the rules. And I did follow like I said, you can ask Ms. Beckman, I did follow the rules. I always had them back in time.
Okay.
And I did what she asked.
Okay. In the report, it indicates that there may have been some disagreement as relates to consequences for one of the boys after an incident with law enforcement. Is there anything you'd like to explain on that point?
No, I don't have anything to, if he needs consequences for bad behavior. I don't understand what you're asking me, I guess.
Okay. So after the law enforcement incident, you were aware of that, correct?
Yes.
Over Labor Day weekend? Okay. And placement had put in different consequences, and I believe maybe it was no phone or no access to internet or something like that. Was that your understanding of what their consequences were at placement?
Yes.
And did you then buy them phones and give it to them at your next parenting time?
No, I did not. What happened was Joseph wanted to purchase a phone with his money and wanted me to sign the, get the phone. And so I was gonna do that, not knowing that Miss Beckman was not okay with that. So that day he went ahead and I guess he did something online, which didn't work anyway. But anyway, he did something online to order the phone. And then as soon as Mrs. Beckman told me, she said, no, I'm not okay with that. I canceled it. It didn't work. I don't think we did it right anyway. And I never no phone was brought in her house whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you for
No.
clarifying
As
that.
soon as she told me she was not okay with that's not what, and she told me that, I did not proceed anymore with that.
Okay. And are you working right now?
Yes.
Have you been able to provide proof of like your employment or a pay stub to Miss Young?
No. It's just hard for me to get my pay stubs, ma'am, because they're online, and anytime I ask them for the pay stubs, it seems to just be like it takes a while sometimes because I don't have the app it's kind of hard I have to ask and wait. So it's not really like an easy task to try to get them, but I can get them. I mean, it's just, they're online, so that's what's the problem with that.
And you said that you completed parenting education. It was at the Care Pregnancy Center.
Yes, it was. I have over 3 certificates, and I did the whole Dr. Loomis, I'm sorry, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. I actually finished the whole series. So at that point, I decided, since I finished it, and I've gotten over 3 certificates, and that particular one that I took was for teenagers. And so the other ones are kind of for younger children. So that's all they had for the teenage series. So I did finish that, and yes, I did.
Okay. Did you provide a copy of the certificates to Miss Young?
No, I did not. She can get, I mean, I could go, I don't know where they're all at. I know there's one in the car. I think there's one in Jovi's car. But if I need to go back up there, and I'm sure they would be happy to print those out again.
Okay. In the report, there's an indication, that if the boys are or were using a vape or marijuana in your presence, that you did not take it away from them. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is true. Yes.
Okay. Was that ever discussed or like in the parenting classes for teens, like how to address that type of behavior?
Yeah, he did. Excuse me. He did cover something. I can't remember exactly. I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to state for the record or let the court know?
Just like I said, I don't understand the way that I'm being treated as far as just kind of in the Zoom. I kind of got attacked. And there was just no reason for that. I feel like doing the best I can right now.
Okay. You heard Ms. Heist in her report that perhaps it's also in the court report that perhaps a different permanency goal for the boys might be appropriate and worthwhile looking into so they can have independence. Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't understand quite what this is.
Okay. So in this type of case, there's different goals for the kids to have permanency and stability. One of those goals is reunification, meaning that the kiddos would go back to your home. They're at an age where they might also qualify for a different type of permanency plan, like a guardianship or independent living, or something different that assists them in growing into adults that are independent. So Ms. Heist had made a comment that perhaps these kiddos are appropriate for a different goal to become independent. Do you have an opinion on that?
So this is something that they would be doing along with us along with still working on getting a place to get them back? Is that what you're saying?
It could be, or so that we would call that a concurrent goal. So we're working towards reunification and a different goal for them. And whatever happens first, happens first. And the court may also just order one or the other. So I'm just asking if you have an opinion as to what you think is best for the boys at this point in time.
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. With that, Your Honor, no further questions of Ms. Wilkowski.
All right, thank you. Mr. McFarland?
You told me you and your husband are trying to obtain a house for you and the boys, correct?
Yes.
Is that with the goal that you want the boys to come back and live with you?
Yes.
What the attorney for the agency, one of the questions she's asked you is, and this might perhaps be another goal, would be rather than them living with you, that they live independently and learn how to be independent young adults, not returning to a house with you and your husband. Your thoughts on that?
That they're too young?
No, that the goal might be for them to have independent living, to gain skills, to live on their own, not living with you and your husband.
How would that work at their age?
Well, don't know exactly.
I know they're wanting to come back,
That's okay.
but I'm just confused about independent. I mean, I could see if they were like 17 or 8, or I'm just trying to figure out how they would work if they're. I feel like they're a little bit too young to go on their own at this point, maybe.
Maybe even a living environment with other youth at their own age, where they live in a common dwelling, a common building, and they're all kind of living under the supervision of somebody, kind of semi-independent. Have you ever been presented it like I'm presenting it to you? Has anybody gone through that with you?
No, they have not, and now I'm just gonna speak for my boys. I don't think they would want that. I think they would rather be with their parent or parents.
If there was a family team meeting, which means a meeting to discuss this, I think you've told me before you would like the boys to participate so you can hear it from their ears what they want. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Seems as though the guardian ad litem indicated in her presentation that you and your husband have given up because you can't control the boys not attending school. You can't control the boys vaping and using marijuana. You've thrown your hands up and kind of said, we can't take them back. Is that true?
Absolutely not. I know I got a little bit upset in the meeting, but I don't want to throw my hands up and give up on my boys. I just want the best for the boys. I want them to finish school, and I just want the best for them. I want them to, obviously I want them to listen, and I guess in the meeting I just meant that maybe I didn't word it right. I just meant that I wanted them to, they need to mind their parents. They need to mind and listen, because I don't want to be back up in your court again if somebody calls a state on me because so-and-so got in trouble or anything like that. That's all. I mean, I might not have worded it right, but I don't want to know. I don't want to give up on my boys. I'm not throwing my hands up. I just want the best for them. I want them to succeed.
So to that end, let me ask you this question. Remember, I'm on your side, but it seems though the attorney for the agency was asking you, you've taken some classes, how to deal with the boys vaping and doing things like using marijuana, yet while you have them, they did that and you couldn't control them. It seems as though that was her concern. Did you understand that?
Yes.
Did you actually learn? And then maybe the question would be, it seems though she's implying that you didn't use what you had learned. Do you think that was true or not?
They didn't really focus that, in the classes, it was mostly on how, different situations that you might arise when they get teenagers and how to handle different situations. But the situation is we have been telling the boys, me and their father, for at least over 5 years, that it's not acceptable to be bringing vapes or anything like that in the home. So, I mean, here the boys have to, they have to listen too. They have to make, like Mrs. Beckman has said, they have to make good choices.
So are they making bad choices with their placement right now?
I'm saying when they brought them in my car, they're in her placement. So at this time, they weren't in my placement when they were bringing this in my car. I mean, yes, I mean, they have to make better choices. That's why she had a talk with Cole and had a talk with them about making better choices. Like when they were not grounded and she let them go out. And I've also told Cole on the phone, you have to make better choices.
Let's not use their names, okay?
I'm sorry.
You can use C, okay?
Okay, but, they just need to make better choices because they have been told for over 5 years or more, we are not okay with them exhibiting that type of behavior.
So how do you think you could prevent that in the future? Just so the court knows, if they bring in a vape or marijuana, prevent them from using that in front of you during, let's say you have an unsupervised visit, how would you prevent that behavior?
Well, I would have to definitely take them away, and maybe at that point, if they did do that again, then I would have to turn around and bring them back to Miss Beckman's and so they would know that this is just not acceptable. You cannot be doing this. This is, you have been asked, you have been, you just can't be doing that type of, you've been told that it's not acceptable behavior. So I would probably take them away definitely. And then I would, tell them that this is not, I mean.
The reason I'm asking is that you want the court to give you unsupervised back, correct?
Correct.
So I'm just trying to, so the court understands what you would do in the event you had unsupervised, if these boys were disobeying something, how you would address that behavior, okay? If the court grants you unsupervised, would you like the agency to provide a hotel so it's in a more family-friendly environment?
If they could.
Okay. How were you visiting the boys, getting transportation or wherever to go up there for those 5 months?
I have a car now and they were giving me gas cards.
And do you think that it's harmful to the boys having all this unsupervised visit and now just cutting it back to supervised?
Most definitely. I haven't seen them in over 3 weeks and they keep asking me when I was, if I could come, and I told them I cannot do anything until the court date.
So now, I'm not sure if I heard you correctly or not. If you have only supervised visits, is it true that you don't want visits if they're only supervised? Would you take supervised visits at this point? I wasn't clear on your answer.
I don't deserve supervised visits.
Explain what you mean.
Well, I went 5 months with unsupervised visits. So no, their father and I decided that absolutely not. Because we don't just, we don't deserve supervised visits when I went 5 months with no supervision.
And I'm speculating that somebody's gonna ask you this, so I'm gonna ask you this, okay? Because the judge may be thinking it, I don't know, but do you think some visits with the parents is better than no visits with a parent? Somebody may ask that, so yeah, I'm asking a hard question now.
Yes. Yes.
I guess knowing what you just said, would you want to resume at least supervised visits until we can work out the issue of unsupervised? Is that something that you would want to do? I know you don't want to do it, but would you do it for your boys? I guess that's maybe the big question.
Probably not.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, you're asking me the truth. I'm
I am.
telling the truth in here. No, probably not. And I don't think the boys would like that either. I mean, they're, you know, there's no reason to have taken them away. Is my point here, and this is a point so that we need to, you know, to the court. I mean, this is my point. The point is, in that meeting, I got attacked by Amy Fullerton, and I got attacked by the kid's lawyer. So, and then the next thing I know, they're taking my visits away completely. So I mean, I don't even know what happened in the meeting. All I know is I have done nothing at all to deserve to not see my boys in the last 3 weeks.
I just want to clarify something with you that you brought up to me. Did you provide them vapes or marijuana?
No, sir.
Did they get them while they were under the care and custody of their current placement?
Yes, sir.
And is there any accountability that you think is going on with the current placement on that matter if they're going after you? I know that's something you brought up to me, so I'm asking.
Well, I'm assuming that Mrs. Beckman does not know if they were getting vapes, or I'm assuming she does not know that.
If part of you having unsupervised visits would be calling the legal authorities, the police, for their boys using vapes or marijuana, which is contrary to the law, that were a term of you having unsupervised visits, would you adhere to that and do that on your boys?
Yes, sir, and I have done that. I have done that in the past. I called the cops and had the cops come and tell them the importance of not doing this and what it could do to their health. I have called the cops a couple times on that issue.
Did they ever bring any controlled substances while you're having your visits and you did that?
Controls, no, sir.
Okay. And a part of the terms of you having unsupervised visits would be to end a visit immediately and return them if they had any illegal activity of any nature. Would you and your husband do that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm presuming you can speak for him. Is that correct?
Well,
I'm saying you're working as a team. You're
Right.
parents, right?
yes.
And if the court put any other restrictions as far as you having unsupervised visits regarding what the boys can and can't do and access to substances or the internet or things of that nature and what you could or couldn't talk to, would you follow the protocol, what the judge would make for you to have unsupervised visits?
Yes, sir.
You're asking the court today to resume the supervised visits, correct?
Supervised or unsupervised?
Resume, sorry, the unsupervised visits.
Yes, sir.
Is there anything else? And I know you had insisted for the longest time with me, true, that you thought that they were trying to adopt the children out and terminate your rights. You thought that was the case, right?
Yes.
And you understand that's not the case that's being presented today, right?
I was a little confused about what's going on.
Okay, I just want to make sure that all of your questions, let me ask you, have all of your concerns and questions been addressed right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. There may be other questions from other attorneys, so I'll rest.
Mr. Brooks?
I'm sympathetic to your question from earlier, where you really don't understand what all these phrases mean. I understand what you're saying. So I will give you my non-court approved definition of these two options. Independent living means the state of Michigan will provide funding to allow these boys to live on their own, subject to the rules laid down by the state of Michigan that you may or you may not approve of. But you don't have any right to do things that are contrary to those rules. That's independent living. They don't live with you. They don't live with Mr. Rupel. And the rules may include them not associating with you. I don't know that, but it's possible. Do you understand what I just said?
I understand, I just don't know why they would want to put them in that type of environment.
I'm asking, do you understand what independent living is? Is that something you want for your boys?
No.
Guardianship. There are two kinds of guardianship. Both of them have rules. The full control on a full guardianship, their guardian would have full control over their lives, just like you would have over your children, absent the interference of the Department of Social Services. That person or those people would be fully in charge. And if that meant they didn't want you and the boy's father around, you can't go around. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Partial guardianship means that you would be given the obligation as much as the opportunity to have parenting time under certain conditions. It sounds like an easier road. It's actually a harder road, because if you don't do it, after a period of time, it would allow the guardian to ask for an adoption because you have failed to live up to your obligation to do visitation and so forth. Do you understand what I just said?
Yes, sir.
Are you interested in your boys having either a full or a partial guardianship?
I'd want them to have a full guardianship with me.
With you?
Yes.
It's not an option I asked you.
You're asking me if I had the option, or if I only had these options?
I'm asking, would you approve of a goal of these boys being put into a guardianship? That's what I'm asking you.
My goal would be to try to get them back.
I can't tell you how to answer these questions. They're not pleasant options. Based on what I've heard of your testimony, neither one would fulfill your goals. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir. Yes, exactly. Yes.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Heights?
Let me just look here. In the next review period, so usually 3 months, I've heard you say that housing is a goal of yours, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then other than housing, how about these other pieces of the case service plan? Will you be working on those?
Yes, and
Okay, so your case service plan, so for example, a psychological evaluation.
I've already done that.
All right, do you know the next steps on that when it comes back?
No, I do not.
Okay, so they're gonna want you to read it and understand it and follow the instructions.
Okay.
Are you willing to do that?
Yes.
And then parent education at this point, is there any more parent education that you're willing to do?
I'm willing to do it, yes, if there was anything else that they, yes.
Are you involved in their medical, dental, and educational appointments?
I think probably not because of the distance at this point.
And then what about maintaining legal employment?
Yes, yes,
Okay, do you realize that you're not in compliance with that if you haven't verified that to the agency?
okay.
Um,
No, I did not know that. I mean, I did not, I mean, she knew I was working. I did not know that I had to be turning in what you just said. I did not know that if that was, you know what I'm saying? I did not know that.
well, in your court report, it says it. That's where I got the information. So when you get your court report, when you read it, it says you're not compliant with having legal employment.
That, okay, well, I guess I'll have to turn in some papers then.
Been stuck on that for a while now, just getting the papers in. Okay, and then Michigan Works, you've been there and you can't get any more help there, right?
No, ma'am.
And Housing Help of Lenawee, no more help there?
Oh, no, I am working with Amy. I have help there. I just have to find a place and she will help me.
Okay, so you're willing to do services and you're willing to do, if it has to be supervised, you would do visits.
Yes,
And did you, it seems like you were gonna work through a safety plan when you give the boys money or gifts, that it's, the Beekmans would be aware of that?
make them aware if I gave them money. Is that what you're asking?
Yes,
Yes,
so cash app, shoes, anything like that that the boys are getting, the placement needs to know, right?
okay, yes.
Okay. I'm just gonna try one time to get through this, but you think there's no reason that the boys should be in foster care?
No, I did not say that.
Okay, so you agree that they were behind in their education
Yes,
and that the homelessness was a burden?
yes,
Okay, so you've done the services and you're willing to continue doing services towards reunification?
yes.
Okay, nothing further.
Ms. Thomas, any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
I'm sorry,
No.
any cross, Mr. McFarland?
Save time, I have just a couple questions based upon Ms. Heiss's questions. Do you get your paychecks by your phone? You take a look at them? Did it say that you've been paid?
There is an app, but I do not do the app. I do it the other way, the paperwork. So there is an app that they can use, but
No, I'm just asking, do you get anything on your phone that says you've been paid?
no, I do not.
What do you get? How do you know that you've been paid?
I have direct deposit.
Okay, so let me ask you, could you take a snapshot of your direct deposit, the money that comes in every week, and just with a, you just take a snapshot and send it to your worker? Can you do that?
Would you want that or?
I'm just asking, can you
Yeah,
do that?
yes, yes, I can do that.
Okay, and can you ask her if that's acceptable?
Yes,
Okay, I'll ask her today, okay?
okay.
Where is it that you're working?
Comfort Care?
It's a hotel, right? Or what is Comfort Care?
Comfort Care is a home care agency.
Oh, okay. How many hours a week?
Oh, that really varies. It could be 25 to 30. Or sometimes it could even be more. That's just kind of a, just depending on what they need that week and what they give me. It's kind of one of those fluctuating kind of jobs.
As far as housing, her question on that, you told me, are you willing to allow your worker to come in and inspect the housing if you and your husband get it, if it's acceptable for you and the boys to reside in? Are you agreeable with that?
Yes, sir.
Any help with transportation that you're not getting right now?
Not transportation, but I would need help with gas.
Explain.
The gas cards to go down to Detroit because the gas prices and for the gas to see the boys.
Are you saying that the money that they give you in gas cards doesn't cover your gas money?
No, it covers it if she gives me at least 2 of them for there and back.
So you're asking for 2 of them every time you visit, as that would cover the gas for going out of town?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay. Anything else we need to know?
No, sir.
Thank you for your honesty. Nothing further.
Any other questions, Mr. Brooks?
Where are these boys?
They're in Harrison Township, Michigan.
Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Heiss,
Nothing further, thank you.
thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. The court did have one overlapping case scheduled for 3:30. So I'm going to lean on your. All right, we are back on record to finish up this review. We are on YouTube this afternoon, so if we can try to refrain from using the children's first names, that would be great. And may I have the names of our participants, please?
Lee Jamison Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Young?
Caitlin Young, Department of Health and Human Services.
Michael Brooks, I represent father, Joby Rupel. Joby
Rupel.
Michael McFarland, representing mother, please introduce yourself.
Mary Wilkowski.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Thomas, I believe we were at your caseworker potentially, or were you finished with any questions that you might have for Ms. Wilkowski?
Yes, Sharon, I believe that we were completed with Ms. Wilkowski's testimony. And I don't believe that Mr. Rupel wanted to testify. Is that still accurate?
It is.
Those are my notes.
Okay. Okay, so yes, I would call Ms. Young.
All right, again, come on up for a witness stand. See you well.
Thank you. Ms. Young, you have a court report that you prepared for last week's hearing. Can you just briefly review the documents that you included with that court report?
So I had the court report, the case service plan, and the proof of service. And I did provide a proof of service previously of the adjourned hearing, so I want to make sure that that was included in there as well.
And did you also provide a psychological evaluation inclusive of your court report?
Yes, actually, I apologize. I did have that attached.
And that was for
Yeah,
Mr.
sure.
Rupel?
Correct.
Okay. Are there any other, to best of your knowledge, documents that you've circulated since filing your report with those attachments?
I have not circulated anything, but I will note that Ms. Wilkowski did drop off a check stub and verification of completion of the parenting education classes. So she did provide those to my office this last week.
And your report indicates that Ms. Wilkowski did participate in or was scheduled for her psychological back in September. Do you have a report for that yet?
I do not have that yet. I was on the phone with the psychologist prior to the court hearing, and he was trying to find the evaluation that he sent out. Because I don't know who he sent it out to, but I did not receive it. So I had inquired about it last week again, and then I followed up again because I was out part of last week. So
Okay.
I tried to follow up on it again before the hearing.
Okay. And at this point in time, are there any other updates or modifications that you need to make to your report?
I do have one update. So I know previously in my report, I put in there that there were some incidents with the minor CR in school, as well as the incident over Labor Day weekend. We had another incident Friday at school with JW, where he was suspended from school due to having a battery pack for a vape cartridge combination. So that's the only other update that I have currently. So he's currently received a punishment for that, where he's not able to really go anywhere for the time being until further notice, according to the placement. So.
All right. And at this point in time, do you believe that there's a substantial risk of harm to the children's or the youth's, their physical health, mental well-being, if they were to be returned to their parents' care and custody today?
Yes.
And what would that risk of harm be?
We still have not alleviated the barriers. There's still concerns that there's no proper housing. We're still trying to work on ensuring that they have a good understanding of kind of like what's going on with the boys, making sure that the educational needs are being met, as well as, ensuring that we're following through with consequences that placement's putting in place when the boys are being caught with vapes or having, behaviors where it would require them to have punishment and not contradicting what placement is putting in place, and making sure that they're kind of teaming together and following through during a scheduled parenting time. So that way, the boys understand, hey, yep, I'm on punishment, and that's gonna follow through with when I'm with mom and dad regardless. So that way, there's some consistency and some structure in that.
One of the things that you indicated Ms. Wilkowski provided to you was proof of completing parenting classes, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And do you happen to know when those were completed? Do you have the dates off the top of your head by any chance?
I do not. It's with the case file stuff that I have to upload into our system, so I do not have that with me currently.
Okay. Do you recall if any of them were completed after or during this review period?
I believe they were completed during this review period. I just don't know the exact date.
Okay. I know that at the last hearing, there was some significant testimony about parenting time. Since then, have you had the opportunity, I know that you were off, but have you had the opportunity to speak with the parents about re-engaging with parenting time?
We did not have that conversation, no. We had spoken previously, we had a family team meeting prior to submitting the court report, and we had a long discussion about what was expected, some of the concerns that were being noted by placement as well as the boys, and the things that actually mom and dad had brought to my attention that we had that discussion on. And we made note too that it was discovered that the court order from the previous hearing had stated that there was supervised parenting time. And I did go back to my emails and I did request that it be updated back July 19th, but I didn't have an update as to getting that changed. And I honestly, that was a mistake on my part by not following up on that. So, from the last hearing, it was supposed to have been supervised. So, but when we had that discussion and the concerns that we had following some of the more recent unsupervised visits that were taking place, mom refused to do supervised visits, and dad concurred that they both refused to do that.
At this point, okay, and at this point in time, do you believe that there would be a risk of harm to the children's life, physical health, or mental well-being if parenting time was to be unsupervised?
I think until we're all on the same page with the consequences that are being put in place by the placement, then I do feel that there would be a risk of harm by not following through and not being supervised in that setting, because up to this point, they have not followed through with any of that. We've tried to have those discussions on numerous occasions, and that has not been followed through to the best of our knowledge at all.
What is the biggest concern about not following through with the consequences or discipline following inappropriate behavior?
The continuation of allowing vapes in the vehicle, them actively using them in mom's vehicle in her presence. Mom came to my office a few weeks prior to the last hearing, and it indicated that she doesn't take them away. When I asked why, she's like, well, they're just gonna get them again anyways. So why bother taking out? I'm like, well, the concern is it's not legal for them to have that. It's not safe, it's not legal. You're continuing to allow that to happen in your vehicle, that's a concern.
It sounds like parenting skills is still one of the main barriers to reunification. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
What other services do the parents need to engage in to address some of the barriers that exist to reunifying the children with them at this time?
One of the things that was noted in Mr. Ruppel's psychological was engaging in therapeutic services, potentially family therapy or couples therapy between him and his partner Mary, to really work on those relationships and building a strong, basically co-parenting relationship for the sake of the kids. So Again, I don't have mom's psychological to know what is being recommended on her behalf, but as far as him, we would want to look at that. There's also the recommended book that Mr. Hagen had noted in there too, that we would like to try to see them engaged with a therapist. Maybe go through some of those parenting skills that's outlined in that booklet as well. And just seeing some positive change as far as the boys' behaviors when they're in the presence of mom and dad. Because it's from my understanding and speaking with them that they're very disrespectful towards them. And, you know, we want to see some of that change. How do we, you know, kind of correct that behavior while they're in their care, even if it's supervised or unsupervised? If they're treating them in that manner, how can we correct that? And I think some of that book does outline skills to utilize.
I'm sorry, what?
To try to engage better with the boys and get some positive change in that aspect.
At this time, there's a recommendation in your court report for consideration of a goal change to APLA. Can you just briefly elaborate on that a little more, why that is your current recommendation?
Yes, so in the event that reunification is not able to occur, we would look to a goal of APLA. So it's another permanency planning living arrangement. So we would either consider the independent living skills program where the boys would be able to stay in their current placement, still be under the department, and have a worker that would check in with them, help make sure that their IL skills are being met, or we would consider either guardianship, or in the event that they're there beyond 18, they could potentially do the young adult volunteer program to continue to utilize services through the department.
Is there anything else that you would like to highlight from your court report about the boys at this point in time?
I think at this time, I mean, the boys are doing really well at the placement. Placement's really got some really good structure. She's got solid ground rules. The boys have been pretty respectful of that. Yes, they've had their issues as teenage boys. All three of the teenage boys that are in the home have all been caught at school with a vape or, you know, parts of the vape. So they've all been suspended or, you know, had some issues there, but they're following the consequences. They understand, yes, there's consequence. This is what it is. There's not really much pushback or fighting on that. They understand, yep, there's a consequence. I got to deal with that for the time being. So they are seeing that positive change within the household. And again, you know, I did outline in there too that at one point following the incident on Labor Day weekend, they did ask for CR to be moved from the home. We were in the process of securing a placement. It would have been a residential placement with Eco Village. And at that point, I had another conversation with placement and they withdrew their request for the child to be moved. So at this time, both of the boys are going to remain at that current placement and continue with their services. They are enrolled in CMH services, so they just are completing their intakes to understand what services that they're going to be able to participate in, mental health wise, substance abuse services and so forth. So that way we can kind of address some of those concerns that we've been seeing from the beginning of this case.
All right, well, thank you for that update. With that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Young. I would move to admit the court report and its attachments.
No objection.
No objections.
No objection.
They are received. Cross-examination, Mr. McFarland.
I'd like to defer to Mr. Brooks first, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks.
Let me see if I understand this. There are no allegations of domestic violence in your report, in your petition. Is that correct?
There's no current allegations of that, no.
Well, what does that mean?
There has been some history of domestic violence that has been reported from previous cases.
When?
On the prior cases that were open.
Well, when was that?
That was, I don't know the exact dates without looking at the
Was
actual
it a month
petitions.
ago, 2 years ago?
The last foster care case that was open. I don't know the exact date, Mr. Brooks. Without looking at the case file.
there is no reported abuse of these boys, is that right?
I mean, there's a reason why this case is open, so if
Well,
there are.
no, what you've said is that the discipline is too casual for their own good. That's what your petition says.
There is no discipline.
And
Nothing
that's in a
is
form
followed
of, in
through
your
on.
opinion, that's a form of abuse?
There's more to why that case was opened in the first place. It's not just, there's not follow through on the discipline or there's no discipline. There was a whole slew of things that had brought this case an investigation on.
Do you
If I
agree with
recall.
me that a great many people would agree that there should be no consequences for misbehavior?
Yeah, and I'm going to object to this line of questioning. I'm on the grounds of relevance, as this is a review hearing to review progress or lack thereof in the last review period. So since July 16th of 2024.
All I'm trying to prove is that the petition is frivolous.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I object. That's outside the scope of this 90-day review. There's already been an adjudication.
All right, moving on. Would you agree with me there's no report of alcohol abuse?
That was not a concern that brought these kids into care.
Would you agree with me that there is no report in your petition of mental illness?
I don't know of any mental health illnesses other than what's been reported.
Do you agree with me that there is no report of criminal history of these parents?
I can't attest to that. I don't know their full criminal history or if there is or isn't any without looking at. the
Have you
case file.
alleged any?
Not in this reporting period. There's been nothing to my
Period.
knowledge.
Anywhere in this file that I got? Is there any report of criminal history?
Not in this reporting period.
Thank you. Is there any report of substance abuse by my clients in this petition?
It's a court report, but no, not in this reporting period.
How about anywhere in the history of this thing that I've got here? Is there
Yeah, and I'm
substance
gonna-
abuse alleged?
I'm going to object to this line of questioning again because it is outside the scope of the review period.
All right.
Would you like to respond?
No, she's right. You are considering either independent living or guardianship for these boys?
Potentially, yes.
Now, in your opinion, do you, your fellow workers, or whoever you would assign for this, going to make an adequate substitute for the parents?
It would be under the care of the current placement. They would be still considered their guardian. In a sense, they would be signing on as the one who would kind of be overseeing them through that transition to the independent living process. It wouldn't be going off to a facility where, you know, they would have their own basically apartment. They would remain where they're at. They would learn independent living skills while living in that family unit. It wouldn't be outside of that household.
Have you ever filed a petition prior to this that had none of the 6 cardinal sins on it, particularly drug abuse?
Well, I didn't file a petition on this case. I came in after the petition was already filed by CPS.
I will accept that answer as her answer. Nothing further.
Mr. McFarland?
So the incident with CR in which the placement indicated that they might not want to keep him, that was in this reporting period, correct?
That was, yes.
Tell us specifically, what did CR do that made the placement consider not wanting him to live with them?
Well, first off, there were some concerns with some social media stuff that was being posted.
Let's stop there. What exactly was posted that was inappropriate or threatening?
I was getting to that, Mr. McFarland.
Thank you. I just didn't want to cover a whole bunch of things, just wanted
Right,
to.
there was a few things that kind of led up to it, so if I could explain that.
Sure.
Okay, so it was brought to my knowledge after the incident that CR was arrested. He had access to some some individuals that he met on social media, someone he had met at school where he got set up with a so-called influencer. This influencer gave them a challenge to go try to break into an abandoned building to take pictures and post on social media. This individual is believed to have provided these two individuals, so CR and another individual from school, a stolen Detroit police duty vest, as well as baton and some other equipment that was found at the scene, as well as they had BB guns that had the orange chip that were broken off of, as well as CR had 3 vapes, as well as a THC cartridge in his possession, tobacco and THC. And he had admitted in the police report that he was the one who had broken the window to this abandoned church with the intent to enter the property. He was arrested and lodged temporarily into the basement, had gotten there. They had met with the magistrate and released. It was later brought to attention by the school that he had posted other pictures on social media that he had claimed were like copies of stuff that he got off of TikTok or Instagram, and had reposted pictures of guns on different like bedding or settings that were not at the residence. So I don't know where he had gotten those pictures or where they were taken, but those were some other concerns that the school had brought to the attention of us, as well as he also got caught in possession at school purchasing THC vapes. So there were several concerns that happened around that time frame.
If I recall, the placement, specifically the female of the placement, that is she a licensed social worker of some type?
She is the social worker of the state, and her husband also is in the home. He works outside of the house as well, so.
Could you speak up a little louder, please?
We have some vets.
Yes, so placement does also work for the state of Michigan, so she's very familiar with the process of everything that needs to take place for licensing, for caring for these kids. So, she was very aware of the process that needed to be taken. She notified the agency, she notified who she needed to, but it was the consensus of her and her husband that they wished for him to be moved initially. But after kind of talking through things and kind of meeting with the law enforcement, everybody, we had that discussion, and they did agree to maintain placement.
So your court report does go over some prior history, and nothing in this prior history seems to be as severe for CR with his parents in the past as what just occurred recently, what you described. Can you agree?
Maybe not what's documented in this report, but there were
That's what I'm asking.
prior reports that.
No, we're
they
keeping
were
this
in-
period. We're keeping this period as the your attorney objected to Mr. Brooks. So I'm just asking you this
Well, you were
period.
asking for prior history, so.
Oh, I'm saying this report contains some prior history is what I said. And there's nothing in this report with the prior history of my client that seems to be anywhere near the magnitude of what you're describing for CR. Would you agree?
I'd have to refresh my memory on that.
Well,
but-
go ahead if you need to.
I mean, if it's not documented in here, then it's not in this. I
That's
know
what
it's
I'm
in
asking.
prior reports.
That's not what I'm asking, if it's in this report, for this reporting period. Thank you. So these kids have also, what are their grades? How about CR?
I don't have their exact grades right now, but they're both, they're, from my understanding, are passing all of their classes as of right now.
How many Ds does CR have?
I don't know their exact grades. I just stated that. They're right in the middle of the marking period, so the grades have not come out yet.
Their progress reports would have come out, correct?
They have, they're getting ready for exams to get the progress reports. So it won't be finalized potentially till next week.
Is there a reason why my client might know what their grades are?
She has contact with placement, so they've been,
Okay.
they've been able to message back and forth to keep updated on.
So you wouldn't disagree that if I were to tell you that, go there. You heard my client testify at our last court hearing that her final decision was yes, she would visit the boys, supervised, if the court would allow that. You heard her say that, correct?
I do recall briefly,
Thank you.
but for the majority of the testimony.
That's all I'm
she was
asking.
denying.
I didn't ask the majority. I just asked, did you hear her say that particular thing?
At the very end of the testimony,
That was the last thing, her last comment on that, correct?
I believe so.
And there's no court order suspending their parenting time. You would agree with that, correct?
Correct.
So from the last hearing to today's date, what have you done to arrange a supervised parenting time?
I had asked her if she would be willing to do the supervise, and she said no, absolutely not. And she refused to do the visits from that point moving forward.
Was that after our last court
Until
hearing?
court.
Was that after our last court hearing?
Prior to that last court hearing.
Well,
But
what I'm saying is that you heard her in court last time. The last thing she said is that she would have supervised parenting time. So are you telling us that you did nothing from when you heard her say in court that she would have supervised parenting time till today for parenting time with these parents and their children? Is that what I'm hearing?
I was gone most of last week following the court hearing.
Did you leave a note for your worker who took over for you or supervisor that their last commentary was that they wanted to have parenting time and it was not suspended? Did you pass that on to whoever is taking over for you?
No, I did not have a conversation with another worker.
So are they going to get makeup parenting time for last week?
It was my understanding that we were waiting to hear the final results from the continuation of today's hearing to make a final decision on all of that.
Now, my understanding is these boys don't necessarily want to go to school, that punishment of them not going to school would be consistent with that they weren't going to school with their parents, correct? That really might not be a punishment, a suspension from school, correct?
I mean, I guess that depends on how you look at it, because when they were with their parents, they weren't being forced to do their schoolwork. They were doing online schooling. They were not there to make sure that they were completing their schoolwork.
Okay, do you have a report that they're completing their schoolwork?
I've met with the principal as well as placement to ensure that, yes, they are completing their schoolwork. And they're consistently there every single day except for the days that they were suspended. And I don't have those dates in front of me, so I apologize.
And you said that the other child, JW, he was just suspended from school with paraphernalia or components for a marijuana device, correct?
Correct, for half of school day.
So it appears as though, wouldn't you agree that the access to criminality as far as controlled vapes is not ended with the placement from parents to the current placement who are experts in their field with the state?
It's not entering to the home to the best of their knowledge. They do searches of the home pretty consistently, and they've yet to see any vapes in the home. So I'm not sure where they're stashing the vapes or where they're hiding them outside of the residence or if they're getting them at school. It's a universal concern that's been going on in multiple school districts across the nation.
Are these kids being monitored going to and from school, if at all?
Yes,
And their lockers are subject to searches and seizures at any time at school, right?
correct.
So even with all the resources of your agency, of these specialists, they still can't do any better than the parents with preventing them from getting these materials, correct?
Not necessarily in preventing them access to them, but access to them in their current presence. They
Doesn't
take
matter
this away
because they're-
from them
doesn't-
and they get rid of them.
They get rid of them.
There is a difference.
Well, they get rid of them, they get more again, according to the report here, right?
Yes, and then there's a
Exactly.
consequence for accessing them again.
Well, these consequences haven't stopped it, correct?
Not necessarily, no.
So how are these boys gonna be able to live independently if they can't conform to just simple non-vaping? How are you really expecting APLA to be pertinent to them? My client would like to know.
They would have the structure of the placement where they're currently at, where they're, having the structure of maintaining their schoolwork, maintaining independent living skills, as well as, taking a look at going through driver's training and, meeting all of their needs at that current placement.
Where they're currently able to get access to vapes and where they're currently being arrested, at least one, and where we don't know what their grades are, according to your testimony today, correct?
The grades are not posted yet, to my knowledge. I was just talking to placement about that earlier today. She does not have the grades the final grades for the reporting, the marking period, excuse me.
What was the last marking period then?
We're in the middle of it. So it's my knowledge that they're doing their exams this week to do that middle point, and then they will have the second part of that marking period. Starting following once those are released.
So there's no unexcused absences, is that what I'm hearing?
Without seeing the report, I don't know for sure.
Would that be here in the report if there were unexcused absences?
If I had knowledge of them, yes.
Did you look as far as the history of late absences or late tardinesses to school?
Again, I don't have a copy of the report, so I don't
No, would
have
you like
that
to take a look at it
information.
now to refresh your memory? I don't see it, that's why I'm wondering, might it be something that you didn't look into?
I don't have it yet because it's not released.
Oh, I thought you
My
meant the report,
understanding.
meaning the report you wrote, that's not what you're
No,
talking
I
about.
have a copy of the report that I wrote. I do not have the kids' school report that was not released yet. They have exams this week that would have all of that information as far as tardies, absences, everything all included on that report.
Oh.
And I believe the unexcused, all of that would be under the suspension, that all of those dates would be on there, or at least that they've missed a certain amount of days.
I have no further questions.
Ms. Heiss?
In this review period, when the placement asked for replacement of CR, there was a search conducted for other placements. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Were any other placements that are suitable, were they found?
There was only one that was found, and that was with Eagle Village. And when we found that, I did have that conversation with placement, and they had a conversation, her and her husband, and they decided that they would try to continue and maintain placement instead of having him move from that placement. They felt it was in the best interest of both the boys to stay together.
Have these parents ever indicated to you that they want a different placement for these boys besides reunification?
Not to my knowledge, no.
So if this placement were presenting a risk of harm to the children, would the two boys be returned to their parents?
I think if it was deemed that their place would be better suited, then we would place back there, but we would need to ensure that they had a safe and stable environment to go back to.
And do they have that right now?
They do not have housing to my knowledge. They've been staying in different motels and vehicles, and I don't believe that they've secured housing at this point.
Right. So the option is not for reunification at this point. It's either continued placement for reunification or continued placement towards independence, correct?
Correct.
And then was the vape that JW had a piece to, was it a marijuana vape or a nicotine vape? Do you know?
I don't know specifically. I know it was like the battery cartridge to it. I don't know I don't know much about the vapes without doing additional research on it, how the compartments work, but there was a battery pack that potentially could go to the vape, or that he had indicated was for like a soldering kit. So I don't know specifically.
Did you inquire of the foster care liaison from his school district to support JW in his suspension?
I have not yet. I had just received knowledge of it while I was on the field trip with my daughter, so I wasn't able to meet with them yet to discuss any of that.
Okay, the incident CR had over Labor Day and JW had, were the parents informed about the details as you were finding it out?
Yes, I did let them know, and I believe placement also spoke with mom about that as well.
So even though you've been questioned today about what those incidents are, that's not the first time the parents have heard about CR's incident or JW's incidents, right?
No. There's been multiple incidents, not necessarily just since they've been in placement, but prior to placement and us getting involved. So this is not a new
I'm objecting,
occurrence.
that's outside the scope of this report, as already objected to by the attorney for the agency.
I believe it was Mr. McFarland's question, but I will move on. Father has a trauma psychological evaluation that you gave us in your report, right?
Correct.
Says he's on disability for depression, true?
From my understanding, yes. That was
And
one of
is he
the things.
in treatment for that?
I don't necessarily know for that specifically. I know for the physical things, he is in treatment for the physical disabilities.
So is he on
Yep.
disability for physical?
I believe it was more of the physical stuff. I don't know if it was necessarily the depression. He had some other treatment that he was undergoing for some medical things that he had prior to us being involved.
And he is still on pain management treatment, correct?
From my understanding, yes.
And is that related to prostate cancer, or is there some other issue why he has pain?
I believe that was a big portion of it, yes.
I heard you mention guardianship as a goal. Can you tell me, has the placement been asked if they would accept a guardianship?
We've had some brief discussions about permanency. Though that was just one of the topics of discussion as far as, these are some different things that courts could ask. As far as permanency, if reunification was not successful, there's guardianships, there's adoption, there's the APLA goals. These are some of the different things that kind of entails. She had a lot of questions about those things, about the future for the boys.
Your Honor, if I might
And
interrupt.
we were just trying to.
The client needs to use the bathroom, take a brief break.
Okay, any objections?
I am concluded with my questioning if that releases the witness during the break.
I have a brief follow-up, so.
Okay, I do have a 3:30. This hearing was supposed to be only half an hour, so let's take a brief recess anyway, so that I can tackle that one. You said you had some more questions?
I do. You want me to wait for Mr. Brooks?
Thomas, do you have any redirect for this client?
I do have just one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. Young, have you had during your testimony earlier, you indicated that you were waiting to hear back from Dr. Haugen's office relating to Ms. Wachowski's psychological evaluation. Since we've started this hearing, have you heard back from the office?
I've got conflicting messages right now with the Hillsdale worker that coordinates the office in the evaluation, as well as the secretary. So as of right now, I don't know for sure if the appointment was missed or if she did attend the appointment. I'm waiting to get a final answer on the access of the report. So, because the one worker indicated that there was a report, but they're having an encryption issue. So I don't know for sure what the status of it is.
And then a different individual said that she didn't show?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland.
Thank you. My client informs me that it's about an hour and a half trip without traffic, can be longer, so 3 hour plus round trip for them to go visit the boys where they're located up north, correct?
Correct.
These boys are of age, not like infants where they can travel, correct?
When able to, yes.
And mom has visited with the boys in hotels down here before, correct?
Correct.
And whenever their children are placed with a placement are told that part of the responsibility is getting kids to visit, correct?
Part of that, yes.
Okay. So why can't we've already established these parents are poor, homeless, don't have a dependable vehicle. Why can't we bring the kids down here for supervised visits? Because they were from Lenawee County, taken out of county. Why can't they be returned to the county where their parents reside for visits?
When they're able to, we do try to coordinate that. It just, the placement also has a lot of stuff going on within their household with the other children there too. So when they're able to, they do try to do the visits down here. It's just, they've got a lot of stuff going on
I understand, but as you just told us, the placement are told that part of their responsibility is to get the kids to visit when they are scheduled, correct?
To be available for visits, not necessarily driving them down here every single week, because that's not necessarily realistic for either party.
So what can the agency do? Can't the agency pay somebody to drive the kids down rather than pay my parents to drive for gas to drive up there in a car that's dilapidated?
We had originally tried to put in services to do just that, and it was moved to unsupervised visits. So at that point, it was the responsibility of both the placement and mom and dad to come up with a mutual place or an arrangement in which they could do the unsupervised visits. So for the majority of the summer, yes, mom and dad, they were driving up that way. We did do some unsupervised visits here where they were overnight in a hotel, and we made those arrangements.
Let's talk about going forward. Can the kids come down here so parents can have whatever visits the court deems fit for the parents to have from the county from where they were taken? Would your agency do that?
I would need to figure out what arrangements can be made.
Is that a yes, you'll see what can be done?
A yes, to see what I can do to make arrangements to what can be done to have the boys either brought here or meet in a mutual place. You know, even if it's halfway, whatever we can do. We've been trying to accommodate the best that we can with everybody's schedules.
Nothing further.
Mr. Brooks?
One question, when the current foster parents were considering having you remove one of the boys, I don't know if they got them both, but I assume they do.
Yes.
You said the only place you found that was qualified was Eagle something or other. What is that?
Eagle Village is a residential placement.
It's a what?
Residential placement.
Populated by what type of young people?
I couldn't tell you because I'm not a worker there. I don't know. A variety of kids go in and out of those facilities throughout the year.
What made you think that was a suitable alternative?
We've previously done relative search. We've done searches through all of the foster homes in the state of Michigan, and there's been no availability due to his extensive behaviors. The next resort was looking at a residential facility that would be able to help with any needs that he has due to his behaviors.
Thank you. That's all.
Ms. Heiss?
No questions, thank you.
Just one.
Mr.
This
McFarland?
Eagle place is where?
Eagle Village, I believe it's either Wayne County or Oakland County. It's one of the closer facilities to where placement's at.
Nothing further.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seats, sir. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. McFarland?
My client has one point of clarification, Your Honor. So I have one question to ask her.
Okay, come on up to our window and
Psychological. Did you take your psychological evaluation?
Yes, sir.
I have nothing further. See if any other attorneys do on that
No
issue.
questions?
Ms. Thomas, any questions?
Did you receive any support from the department to attend your psychological?
Did I receive, I don't understand what you're asking.
Did you get
Support?
gas cards to go to your psychological appointment?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Heiss?
Yes, are you unsatisfied with the placement for the children?
No, ma'am.
Are you prepared for the boys to come home today?
Not today.
Thank you, nothing further.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Anyone else you'd like us to hear from, Mr. McFarland?
No, thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
No.
Comments in closing, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. I know that you've heard 2 days worth of testimony here about the children, how they're doing, various reunification. So just note that based on all of that and our reports, the kiddos are not ready to go to their parents at this point in time, even by mom's admission just now. Given their age, we would ask the court to consider maybe having a concurrent goal between reunification and APLA. I think that a lot can be done behind the scenes in a family team meeting to discuss permanency that's appropriate for these two kiddos. And I just also want to note that we started with two teens who were not attending school because dad couldn't babysit them at the library every day or whatever his psychological had indicated. And now they're in person, they're attending regularly. And yeah, there are still some behavioral problems. The difference is the caregivers are not the ones who are turning a blind eye to those behaviors. And they're in a safe environment, their needs are being met. And it is clear that the parents still need to engage with some services to address the barriers to reunification. But also considering our request for APLA, seems that the boys may be ready for independence before the parents are ready to get them back in their home. And so with that, Your Honor, we would request a standard 90-day review and that goal change. Thank you.
Okay. Comments, Mr. McFarland?
So within this reporting period, the current placement had asked that, at least gave intentions that they didn't want one child CW in their care. I don't call that a success story by any means. I think the attorney for the agency is kind of glancing over the fact that they're still accessing things that they shouldn't. It's supposed to be a structured, controlled, safe environment, and we have a child that's arrested in empty, abandoned buildings in Detroit with simulated guns and stolen police property. Nothing ever goes to that nature when they were with the parents. I can't see how that placement is better than with parents living in a hotel, quite frankly. Don't know what the grades are, so we can't say that they are doing good in school because the worker testified that we don't have their grades. For a long period of time, it appears that mistakenly the agency allowed parents to have unsupervised parenting time. Client testified that if these children in the future were to bring anything illegal, contraband, otherwise against the rules and regulations, she would immediately reach out since she has learned her lesson, Your Honor. So we are asking that unsupervised continue. I think they've been punished enough. They've driven the point in. I think you can sense the angst of these parents that they haven't gotten yet. Parents who are at poverty level, and nobody's denying that, even with the paycheck stub is turned in, we haven't heard any testimony that economic conditions have improved substantially. We are asking that these visits be closer. These boys were residents of Lenawee County, taken out of the county, and there's really no articulable good reason here, Your Honor, why they can't come back. If we're saying that an excused day from school to visit with their parents is not preferential to parent visitation, I'm not sure we perhaps have our priorities right here. Realistically suggesting these kids are going to be able to live semi-independently with the current placement, they can't live under structure without independence. I think that's a wild stretch of the imagination. So that's our position. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Anger is an almost universal reaction from parents who've had their children removed from their home by the Department of Health and Human Services. That's common. What's unusual, I won't say unique, but unusual is my reaction in some cases, rarely, is my reaction is pretty much the same. I'm looking at what I've got written in red on this petition. There are no drugs that my parents are engaged with, which wipes off about 80% of this court's caseload, I might add. No criminal history of my client, no documented mental health issues, another one that has an awful lot of cases on it. No alleged abuse, in fact, quite the opposite. They're saying they're too lax with their discipline. No alcohol problems. They're just plain poor. And the department deems it fair and appropriate that they have nothing but supervised visitation. They're not saying today you need to give the kids back. But my clients are not drug addicts, they're not criminals, they have no mental health issues, they're not accused of abuse, they're not accused of domestic violence, they're not accused of being alcoholics. They just want unsupervised visitation with their children. Kid's been moved, what, 2.5, 3 hours away, round trip. Gas is a problem for them. So yes, I find myself in the unusual situation of sharing the anger of these parents, and they are undoubtedly angry for removing their children from them, when even from an objective point of view, which I generally will maintain, I don't see why they had their kids yanked from them. I agree about the housing issue. I agree. So do they. But all of the things that are the real impediments you run into, none of them are even alleged to exist in this case. No mental health, no substance abuse, no alcoholism, no domestic violence, no criminal history. How many cases like that have you got pending? My guess is you have one, this one. And to say that you have to go to the extreme example of saying all they can have is supervised visitation, it seems out of proportion to the situation we're dealing with. Especially now that I've found this other stuff out, that these more serious events had taken place while in the care and custody of their present caregivers, who I'm not criticizing for their lack of care or for any fault of their own. I'm not. But I think it's disproportionate what's being, my client's being subjected to here. I would hope they get a house. And if they got a house, my first motion would be to return these kids to that house, but I can't. Thank you.
Ms. Heiss.
Well, the last court order was for supervised visits, so I don't know why Father's Counsel didn't object to it before now, because the agency did give unsupervised visits and gave unsupervised visits even in Lenawee County. The older child has a girlfriend here that he used to like to come and see. He used to have a girlfriend who he used to like to come and see. You know, family team meetings are really effective and they're really productive because we can pass all this information to each other and have time to discuss it so that we come in prepared and informed about the case. It's interesting today that Mother's Counsel says that it's a wild stretch of the imagination to have an APLA as a goal. I would be really interested to see what he thinks a good goal would be. We do that at a family team meeting because if reunification isn't going to happen because mom and dad have had chronic homelessness and educational neglect, what would the other options be? I'm sure he's got a really good idea that I think he should share with everyone. I think that when you're unfamiliar with the facts, you risk putting the placement at risk. I think we've gone a long way today to damaging the relationship between these parents and the placement, who has every right to be incredibly offended by the lines of questioning. They haven't caused this. They're working 24 hours, 7 days a week to support these children. And I think the parents know that. I think the parents have a relationship with the placement where they can call and get information and give information. there it has no resistance to Adrian visits whatsoever, but to imply that there is a resistance rather than logistical barriers, those are things that we can get together and talk through in a family team meeting. This review should not take this long. Mr. Brooks, the father's attorney, is arguing about jurisdiction, and these kids have been in care now for this amount of time. At some point, I wonder about an admonishment so that we can keep on a review track and deal with the last review period instead of attacking the petition again. Because it seems like we're communicating that educational neglect and homelessness and all the things that come with it do not create a risk of harm to the children. And I think we're past that in this case. We're working on reunification. And when I asked the mother if she wanted the placement changed, her answer was no. Then why did we spend this time attacking the placement? So visits were unsupervised, even when the court order said supervised. So the agency went above and beyond. The parents need to help us understand how we can keep the kids from getting access to Prada shoes and Cash App and those kinds of things because they're using it to undermine the placement and the consequences for the kids' behaviors. So of course, mom and dad didn't provide the vapes. Maybe they didn't stop it when they saw it, but they didn't intentionally provide vapes. We're not accusing them. You know, mom and dad are also, but they did provide things that the kids were able to turn into a business and change over for money and exchange for harmful things. Am I frozen, Judge?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, you were frozen to me. You know, the parents also aren't bank robbers. They aren't murderers. They haven't been to Mars. I could sit here for all the things they haven't done. Does that mean the things that have created a risk of harm for these kids are not significant and important? It isn't. That isn't true. So I would ask you to consider that unsupervised visits are something that we can get to in one family team meeting with some rules. A mom wants to say what rules she wants on the visits, what she needs to be successful on the visits. We want to say, Mom, help us help your kids. And these are the things that we want in a safety plan. So with those things in place, Your Honor, I would ask you for a 90-day review.
Thank you. The court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review. I do find that the department is making reasonable efforts towards the goal of reunification and that Ms. Heiss is in satisfaction of her obligations. I am concerned by the advocacy efforts this afternoon from our attorneys because there were significant things that happened in the last report period from the parents that contributed to the undermining of the placement. And I think that was very much minimized and or ignored. We have contradictory testimony at best from the mother in this case about what happened. And I would tend to see her minimization of vaping and allowing some of these behaviors while in her care as consistent with the reasons that the children were removed. As you may recall, Mr. Brooks, these were children that were not in school and that were getting drunk and knocking on doors of the hotel room where their parents were staying. The family was homeless at that time as well. And we were in a situation where I had two teenagers that were not being supervised. And if anything, they had parents that were either ignoring or contributing to their lack of supervision and the mistakes that come along with that. I have no doubt that these children were allowed to vape in the presence of their parents. I have no doubt that their parents continued to give them money and phones, undermining the placement that is trying to implement the structure. And I do not appreciate the parents' advocacy that they should be able to do that. That's compromising the placement of the children. We're here, I've heard the parents themselves talk about the fact that they are very frustrated in trying to parent their children. But when someone else is trying to do it, They're actively trying to undermine those efforts. And that is the reason that the parenting time is and will continue to be supervised until they understand that that's completely inappropriate because it compromises the children. Parenting time is not about the parents getting to see the children. It's about building a bond. But the bond can't be characterized as one where the parents are actively contributing to the juvenile delinquency of their children. That's a major problem. So until they're able to demonstrate that they are going to refrain from that and not equivocate about it when they're confronted on the record, that's what's going to happen. I will take Ms. Heiss's advice that the department may conduct a family team meeting around parenting time, develop a safety plan, and may implement an expansion of parenting time or unsupervised under the confines and construct of a safety plan. And the second that that's violated, they have the discretion to restrict parenting time back to supervised. Because as you may recall, during the testimony of Ms. Young, when this placement did ask for the children to be removed, there was nowhere for them to go. That's not a situation I want these kids in. So I have an obligation to make sure that that's not the case. That's why I am making the ruling I am about what's happening with parenting time moving forward. I would not expect the parents to demonstrate the same arguments that I saw today in that family team meeting around safety planning. And I would expect the department to be able to say no or to stop any parenting time or any family team meeting that does dissolve into a blame fest, frankly, or issues with the underlying reason that the children were removed in the first place. That's all past. The goal here is to develop a structured environment where these two boys can avoid juvenile delinquency, get their education, have a consistent, stable place to live, ideally with their parents. Both parents acknowledge today that they can't take these boys right now. They have significant effort to put in. We have one psychological from Joby that indicates that there's a recommendation for supervised parenting time, education, possible psychopharmacological intervention from a diagnosis of depression, which is a diagnosed mental health issue at this time, if his symptoms worsen. Apparently he's dropped out of CPC parent education. Those are not actions that indicate to this court that he is trying to work on supporting his children. Those are indications that, again, we're seeing the same barriers come up. There is some progress being made. Mom has gotten a job, but we still don't have her full engagement on understanding how the structure of safe parenting time needs to be conducted. We've seen that, and I've addressed that already. I'll give you one more example. After the social media stunt, I'll call it, Mom went to the lengths to replace the phone that was removed from the children because they chose to use that phone to engage in social media, which ended up with them charged with these crimes. So Mom doesn't think that the discipline is a good idea, so she gets them a new phone. That's a bad idea. Deciding that there's nothing that we can do about the children using vapes and simply giving up is a bad idea. Okay, so we need to see better demonstration of parenting skills. We need to see housing, and certainly the boys need more time in the structured environment that they are in order to develop the skills that they're going to need in order to support being able to live in a home with their parents as well. Not only do the parents need to learn and engage in a structure, in a practice of structure, but so do these boys. So this court is obligated to do, as the department is, everything to support them in their own education and growth. I will not change the goal at this time completely. I'm going to change it to a joint goal of APLA and reunification, acknowledging that these boys need to learn some independent living skills. They have learned some already, but not in a good way. They have learned what freedom looks like in an unstructured, unregulated environment, and they have learned many ways to survive that. They need to learn independent living skills that will allow them to be successful in the future, not simply just to enjoy their freedom and some of the more typical rebellious ways that we see teenagers using their freedom, like vaping, like getting into alcohol, like staying up till all hours. It needs to be balanced with some independent living skills that they can use to reach positive goals. So we're going to have a dual goal. Reunification is still on the table. Removal was only April 2nd, 2024, but that was also in light of the fact that this is a 2009 case and that we've had 2 prior petitions echoing some of the same barriers. So with all that being said, give the discretion to the department on parenting time, the requirement for the FTM and the safety planning, the discretion to terminate meetings, to terminate parenting time, and to restrict it to back and forth to supervised parenting time in light of all of the concerns that I've heard today. The goal is a dual goal in order to maximize the opportunities for these 2 boys and to support the placement. Frankly, who's doing their absolute best to support the boys and the family. And we appreciate them doing it. I'm going to give you a 90-day review, which will take us into January. We're going to call it 9 o'clock, Tuesday, January 14th. It'll be a review as well as a permanency planning hearing, and we will be much farther along in this process. So I'm going to need to see very diligent efforts by the parents in the next report period. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Should clients wait for the order or
Thank you, Judge.
will it be emailed?
No, it's 4:30. I'll need a few minutes to complete that, so they can, they'll receive it in their email, I'm sure, or in the mail.
Okay.